Starting off with number 10, we got the tokoloshe. Tokoloshe, I don't really know exactly how to pronounce this. It's kind of a hard thing to find online, how to pronounce it. I wish I had some South African friends right next door that I could just ask. Pretty much, this is your basic form of a gremlin, but the South African version. Originating from Zulu mythology, this creature basically comes from a shaman who sends it out to cause sickness or even death on an individual. And they also call this creature a water spirit, but according to mythology, the only way to prevent this thing from coming into your room and getting you is to put bricks under the supports of your bed. Apparently, the tokoloshe doesn't like bricks. I don't blame him. I'm more of a mahogany sort of guy. You know, I like wood. Not that kind of wood. Now, the reason this whole creature was created was to give reason of why people fell asleep and died. Basically, I guess they didn't think that a heart attack would actually come into play or something like that. But other than that, this creature's been noted in many different forms of songs and even stories that come from South Africa. And according to history, there's been some stories of some women being attacked by these little hairy beasts that also have big penises. Maybe they're just living out a weird fantasy. That's what I'm thinking. Number 9, you got the groot slang. Basically one of my favorite ones on this list. I mean, let's be perfectly honest, on this list there's going to be a lot of snake-themed monsters. The groot slang monster is said to have home in the caves of Richterveld in South Africa. Old mythology states that this creature is as old as the world itself, and it is like one big, powerful snake that the gods made. One of the problems was when God, or the gods, I'm not really sure if there was a plural there, made this creature, they realized that, whoops, it was a little bit of a mistake. So what they did from there, they pretty much split the creature into two different animals, and thus you get the elephant and the snake. As a matter of fact, this creature got a lot of attention back in 1917 when an Englishman named Peter Grayson went looking for treasure. Apparently he was attacked by lions, but a lot of the locals said, nah, he was attacked by a groot slang. Yeah. Number 8, the nenka. Kind of sounds more like an ethnic slur if you ask me. I really hope it doesn't. A little bit different from the monsters on this list. I'm not sure how terrifying this one actually is, but it is your typical monster. Although it originated in Western Africa, there are some stories of it being seen down in South Africa. And basically, it is your classic dragon, and you can't have scary monsters without the good old-fashioned famous dragon. As a matter of fact, it's one of the more recent spottings of all the creatures on this list, because in 2006, some people said they saw it in Gambia. The expedition that was looking for this specific creature said that it was anywhere between 30 to 50 feet. And on top of that, this expedition claimed to have found and obtained a scale from the creature. The problem is, when they found the whole thing, they realized that, well, it was actually just a celluloid film. Probably celluloid film from the camera that they were going to take that typical blurry shot from. Number 7, mamlambo. It's just got the coolest name of them all. Basically, another form of giant snake, but this one's just a little bit different. It is also known to the Zulu as the goddess of the rivers. This creature got a huge boost in popularity in 1997 when people said that they spotted it near Mount Aleph. People stated that it was 67 feet long and it had the head of a horse. As a matter of fact, some of these other snakes that I will list apparently also had the head of a horse. It seemed to be a very common thing within mythological snake monsters in South Africa. On top of that, it had the neck of a snake and the body of a fish and little tiny legs. Don't ask me what that even looks like, but apparently at night it also glowed green. Apparently he's Mr. Burns from The Simpsons and he's just glowing all night long. Also in 1997 at a village near where this thing was seen, it said that 9 people died and it was because of this creature. On top of that, according to the myth, it's apparently a brain-sucking creature. So it gets right in there and it sucks your brains out. It's not a zombie, it's just the brain-eating son of a gun. And of course, for that one, people went looking for this creature, but to date, there's been absolutely no evidence of this thing actually existing. By the way, guys, before I continue in this video, I just want to let you know that this is kind of new content for us, doing like scary mythological creatures and stuff from countries. So if you're liking this and you want more content around this, just hit that like button so I know. Yeah. Number 6, the lightning bird. Now, this one's real interesting. This creature came about probably out of confusion that people thought the hammerkop bird was in fact the lightning bird. Originating in South Africa, a lot of tribes that were either close to Zulu or Pondo believed in this creature. Basically, it was a bird that was the size of a person and fed on your blood. And people believed back in the day that the fat within the bird could just help this thing get powers to explode into flame and cause lightning bolts to strike on its victims. That's got a lot of cool powers. Like, sorry, all you Pokemon out there, eat your heart out. This thing is way better. Of course, there's a lot of confusion about what this creature actually was. Some people are saying, yeah, it's just a vampire because apparently it turned into a human being when it sucked on the blood of people. And then when it sucked on the blood of birds, it turned into a bird. So, you know, it's also a shapeshifter, apparently. As a matter of fact, some people believe in this so much that in 2005, this is kind of a bit of a sad story, that a 2-year-old boy was killed because a man thought he was a lightning bird. Or a lightning bird, I should say. Number 5, the colomudulo. This has got to be one of the biggest creatures on this list because he ate everything. Or she, it could be a she. Short one here, but apparently this was one of the first creations when the world started way back in the day. Story is that this giant creature ate all the animals in the world and all the people of the Basuto tribe, except for one woman. She apparently gave birth to her son, Kanada, who apparently returned back to the village and was like, yo, where did everybody go? And she was like, this monster just ate everybody. And Kanada, being enraged, decided to get revenge, and he was pointed to the direction which looked like a giant mountain because he was that big and fat from eating everybody. And smart Kanada maneuvered around him and split open his belly, killing the creature, and of course freeing everybody, all the animals, and the people to repopulate the earth. So we can all blame Kanada for the overpopulation issues that we have today. Kanada, you done wrong. Number 4, the itkin yamba. I think that's how you pronounce it, but either way, it is a snake that has got one ugly face. I mean, you thought my face was just, no, this is like, yeah, my head on a snake. Now, it's been said to have been spotted at Howick Falls in South Africa, and previous to other ones, some people say that this creature's got the head of a horse. I mean, it doesn't really look like a horse to me. It looks like sheer terror. As a matter of fact, there have been even paintings on caves of these monsters in the KwaZulu-Natal area. And sometimes they're called rain animals because they were only seen during the times of great, terrible storms. That or they were the cause of these storms. It's never quite 100% what people believed. And it's funny, even in 1998, this creature was blamed for a really bad storm within South Africa. There's of course a photo of this creature that suggests this creature exists, but many people say it's what you call an anguilla marmorata, which is a freshwater eel that can be at least 6 feet in length. Number 3, the alaba. This is, okay, it's not a scary one, guys, but I just wanted to throw this one in. It's South Africa's version of a unicorn. Okay? Okay, it's not actually really a unicorn. It's the closest thing. It's apparently got, 2 horns on the side of its head. And apparently alaba is another word for rhinoceros. Okay, I know you guys are getting all mad because you're like, yo, it's 10 scary mythological monsters from South Africa. Let's just be real. Okay, the real title should have been it's 9 plus 1 unicorn. Okay? All right? We good? Number 2, an original one on this list for monsters, and that is the umplebe. I think that's how you pronounce it. Basically, it's a tree that kills. This creature was made popular after a report on November 2nd, 1882 by Reverend G.W. Parker. He described this thing as a somewhat dead-looking tree that had, kind of greenish leaves around it, but the weird part was it had skulls, skeletons, and all that sort of stuff around its base. Not gonna lie, I wouldn't think it was a tree. I would think it's just a sacrificial point, and I'd be like, I'm getting out of here. Apparently, this tree was very, very poisonous. I mean, even in a minor setting, it would give you either a headache or bloody eyes. This tree, however, administered its poison through the gas and air around it. And it's also said that the soil immediately around it was completely lethal, so if people went to chop the tree down, it would kill you. And that's why there's skeletons around it. Yay! It's like a moat of skeletons, to keep the animals away, so they don't eat their nuts. According to mythology, the Zulu people also sacrificed goats to the umplebe tree, so, the tree wouldn't be so mad, because that makes a lot of sense. However, though, this is probably all debunked because, it's been over 100 years since this thing was first reported, and nobody's seen a thing like that since. And number 1, probably my most favorite one, is the Mermaids of the Karoo. This one goes way back. As a matter of fact, it's commonly believed that the Karoo at one point was underwater, and that's why there were mermaids that were in the area. And this myth goes so far back that in the Klein Karoo region, there were rock paintings of people with fishtails. As well, in 1975, there was a farmer in Mullins River who said that he saw this creature. It lived beneath the waters. And what makes this one dangerous, I mean, mermaids are supposed to be all pretty and all that. Well, apparently they lure people in, snatch them, and bring them down to a watery grave. Don't ask me why people are believing that there are mermaids in the Karoo region, which is like basically the driest region of South Africa. Maybe it's just to remind people that water is very, very precious. I don't know.
A second hurts really bad in the face of eternity, but only for a moment.
So starting at number 10, we have vampires. Though their portrayals will vary across culture, there are a few things that remain the same. Vampires feed on the living to remain immortal. They also hate sunlight, so they try to avoid that as much as possible. And they got these really sharp teeth, of course, to feed on their victims' blood. Now, often a metaphor for the dangers of sexual desire, vampires have become a staple in pop culture for over 100 years. Vampires also got a huge push in popularity with Bram Stoker's novel Dracula.
He will live through the centuries to come, as I have lived.
Demons come in at number 9. So check this out, guys. The term demon comes from the Greek word daimon, meaning deity or lesser spirit. Now, demons were fallen angels who followed Lucifer from the time that he was cast out of heaven by God. And demons are usually associated with evil, but in pre-Christian and non-Christian cultures, demons actually were not necessarily good or evil. They were kind of like neutral. Then again, there could be good demons and bad demons, not just evil. Now, demons can also take on the form of humans, like in the case of an incubus, for example, which is a demon in the shape of a human male for the purpose of literally just committing sexual acts. Or there's also the succubus, which is the female version of incubus.
Me and Daddy.
No way. Number 8, we have werewolf. So the werewolf is a mythological animal type creature, and it's a subject of many stories throughout the world. And werewolves are, according to some legends, people who morph into these terrifying yet powerful wolf creatures. Others are half human and half wolf, but all are just bloodthirsty beasts who can't control their desire to destroy people and animals. Now, in many werewolf stories, a person only turns into a werewolf when there's a full moon, and that theory may actually have some kind of truth to it, because according to a study conducted by Australia's Calvary Mater Newcastle Hospital, a full moon actually brings out the beasts inside of humans, and they actually notice a spike in crime rate when there's a full moon. Now let's look at elves. An elf is a type of human-like supernatural being in Germanic mythology and folklore. In medieval Germanic-speaking cultures, elves were seen generally to have been beings that had supernatural and magic powers, as well as they were beautiful. They were capable of either causing mischief and hindering humans in whatever they were trying to do, or they could actually support humans in doing what they have to do. In some depictions, elves are luminous beings said to be more beautiful than the sun, and humans and elves can actually inbreed and produce a half human, half elf. Humans can also apparently become elves after they die, and there was a considerable overlap between the worship of human ancestors and the worship of elves back in the day.
To rise above the height of all your fathers since the days of Elendil.
Next up, we have the Hellhound. The Hellhound is a dog of hell found in mythology, folklore, and fiction. Hellhounds typically have features such as being bigger than other types of hounds, as well as black fur, glowing red eyes, super strength or speed, as well as ghostly or phantom characteristics. They can like disappear, appear. And sometimes they even have the ability to talk. They're often assigned to guard the entrance of the world of the dead or undertake duties related to the afterlife or the supernatural, such as hunting down lost souls or guarding supernatural treasures. As the legend goes, if a person happens to see a hellhound 3 times, he or she will die an abrupt and unseen death. Halfway in we have trolls at number 5. Trolls in early Scandinavian folklore are giant beings, sometimes having magic powers, and they're very hostile towards people, and trolls lived in castles as well as haunted various places at nighttime. If exposed to sunlight, they burst or turn to stone. Now in later works, trolls often were human-sized or even smaller beings, similar to dwarves or elves, and they lived in mountains or under bridges. And trolls in modern tales for stories also lived under bridges, and they would bother travelers in various different ways.
Ariel, listen to me. The human world, it's a mess.
Mermaids come in at number 4. Now mermaid, as well as the masculine term merman, they're marine creatures with the head and upper body of a human being and the tail of a fish. In European folklore, mermaids, sometimes called sirens, and mermen were beings who, like fairies, had magical and prophetic powers. They loved music and they often sang, and though they could live a very long time, they were mortal and they actually had no souls. Though sometimes they were kind, mermaids and mermen were often very dangerous to people. And to see one while you were on a ship voyage means that, well, you're gonna get shipwrecked real soon. They were often up to no good. They would sometimes lure people to death by drowning. So if you saw one at the sea, don't look. Just look away. Cover your ears. Chupacabra comes in number 3. So these chupacabras in Latin American pop culture, they're a monstrous creature that attacks animals and consumes their blood. Now the name is derived from the Spanish word chupar, meaning to suck, and cabra, meaning goat. And the Chupacabra only recently joined vampires as blood-sucking creatures. Now Chupacabras were first reported in 1995. Of course, vampires go way back before then. And when the first reports of Chupacabras came out in 1995 in Puerto Rico, they were blamed for attacks on goats, sheep, as well as other domestic animals, supposedly leaving uneaten carcasses that were drained of blood. Now early reports described a creature that stood upright and resembled a large reptilian kangaroo with huge red eyes. But no actual specimens of Chupacabras were ever found, and skeptics suggest that people who say that they've seen these Chupacabras were probably just influenced by sci-fi movies.
When they stumbled across that alleged creature of the night, called it hairless with a long snout, short front legs, and long back legs.
Now let's talk about dragons. Now dragons are among the most popular and enduring of the world's mythological and supernatural creatures. Dragons' tales are known in many cultures, from Americas to Europe, to India, China, you name it. And they have a long and rich history in many forms and continue to populate books, films, TV shows. Now it's not clear when or where these stories of dragons first emerged, but the huge flying serpents were described at least as early as the age of the ancient Greeks and Sumerians. For much of the history of dragons, they're thought as being like any other mythological animal, sometimes useful in protecting humans, or sometimes could prove very deadly, and they could breathe fire too. Scary creatures sometimes. And finally, number 1, we have zombies. So the zombie are undead creatures that are frequently featured in works of horror, fiction, and film. Now while its roots may possibly be traced back to the zombie of the Haitian voodoo religion, the modern fictional zombies was largely developed by the works of American filmmaker George A. Romero. Now zombies may be created in a variety of ways, like early depictions showed drawings from Haitian voodoo, and they often represented witchcraft as a means for reviving corpses. Now Haitian zombies are said to be created by evil priests or sorcerers to do their bidding. Now methods of zombification have developed in fiction, including radiation exposure. And especially one big theme in pop culture right now is the zombie apocalypse. Zombies are often depicted as these weird, half-dead looking creatures that infect people by biting them or scratching them. Then they spread their zombie genes, so that person now becomes a zombie.
Which leads me to my second rule, the double tap.
Like the creature at number 10, the Jinn.
The jinn is known as genie in English, but the jinn, sometimes spelled D-G-I-N-N, they have deep roots in Arab culture. The jinn first popped up on the scene from stories told by Indian, Persian, and Arabian storytellers. They gained a whole lot of attention and fame internationally when they appeared throughout the tales that Sherazade told in the 1001 Nights. It is said that jinn are created from fire and they can take on any form that they choose, whether it's animals or humans. They can also be any size that they feel, and most jinns by nature, they're very hostile, although you'll find some that can be very, very friendly. Moving on to number 9, we have the Qareen. The Qareen is a personal companion jinn that exists opposite of you in the invisible jinn world. The word in Arabic literally means constant companion, so literally they're stuck with you. In a sense, it's like an immaterial demon that sits on your shoulder pretty much and starts telling you to do bad things. The Qareen, they latch onto a person at birth and they can be very jealous of anyone who tries to get close to you. Yeah, they can be very protective and cause a lot of harm and mishap to somebody that tries to get your attention too far away from them. The Rukh comes in at number 8. The Rukh, also spelled R-U-K-H, or in Arabic R-U-K-H-K-H. This is a gigantic legendary bird that is said to carry off elephant and other large beasts for food. This creature was mentioned in one of Sinbad's stories in the 1001 Nights, and usually it's described as whitish in color. Its wingspan is said to be 48 feet in length, and its feathers are as big as palm leaves. The rock was so big that its eggs were said to be over 150 feet in circumference, and according to Arabic tradition, the creature would only land on the mountain Kaf in the center of the world. Next up, let's look at Al-Anka. This creature has nothing to do with demons though, but it's also a supernatural creature. It looks like a gigantic bird and it can fly away with anything that it carries, from animals to humans, anything really. And the name in Arabic means the one with the long neck. This creature was mentioned in the ancient Arab legends and books such as marvels of things created and miraculous aspects of things existing. So yeah, another legendary bird that made it to this list. Moving on to number 6, we have falak. Now this is a creature that is said to inhabit the underworld, and it's actually going to come out when the world ends. Now this creature, it looks like a snake, but not like a regular snake. This is a massive snake. And the falak's job is to torture sinners. And this is all taking place after the world ends, by the way. So the falak themselves, they reside in the 7th hell below everything else. And it's said to be so powerful that only its fear of the greater power of God is the only thing that prevents it from swallowing up everything that is created above it. Yeah, pretty scary, guys. All right, halfway in at number 5, we have the nasnas. Nasnas are creatures that have the form of a man, but split down the middle, and one half is completely missing, and one half has the tail of a lamb. So it's like some half human, half animal looking creature, and this monster supposedly originates from the Hadramaut region in Yemen, and some nasnas are described as having wings of bats. Number 4 brings us the Werehyena. Werehyenas are pretty much humans who turn into hyenas. Kind of like werewolves, humans that turn into wolves, except in this case, they're hyenas. However, the mythological creature is larger than a hyena and it can stand on 2 legs. Yes, pretty similar to a werewolf. They are also known to be very deadly and brutal and ruthless creatures, so if you ever come across any one of them, run. Ghouls come in at number 3. Ghouls are thought to be zombie-like jinn who haunt graveyards and they prey on human flesh. They are completely demonic and they're incapable of doing anything good. They're often portrayed as nocturnal creatures who just come out at night, and ghouls are capable of changing form, but you could always spot one if you look for one particular sign, and that's that they have hooves like donkeys and they actually aren't able to change that. Well, so they say anyways. Ghouls, they roam the desert and they often disguise themselves as very attractive women, and this is to distract travelers so that they can come closer, and once they do, they eat them. Number 2 brings us to the ifrit. Ifrit are intelligent and very cunning. The Ifrit are also known to live in very complex societies, similar to human beings. So they're like elevated forms of Jinn, and they are said to prefer caves and underground dwelling places. Although they are very demonic, they are portrayed as being able to change and are capable of becoming religious and good. They emerge as smoke from the ground and form into large winged demons, and they're said to be able to bleed fire. And the scary supernatural creature of the Middle East, coming at number 1, is the bahamut. Bahamut, also called behemoth in English, is a massive fish creature who serves as the supporter of the world in Arabic cosmography, which is the study of the origins of the cosmos. Also in Hebrew mythology, Bahamut is a large land-dwelling creature, and it's the largest one that has ever been created on the earth. Bahamut is currently lurking in the underworld, and he will return during the chaos and the destruction that's going to happen during the Day of Judgment. Also, ancient mythology states this, and I quote, "All of the waters in the world placed in one of his nostrils would be like a mustard seed in a desert." Yeah, that just gives you an idea of the massive size of Bahamut.
Banshee. So Banshee is a supernatural being from Irish folklore, and the word Banshee is actually derived from the Irish term Bean-sea, which means woman of the fairy mound. According to Irish folklore, banshees are spirits or fairies that are associated with death and are said to wail or shriek when somebody is about to pass away. Banshees are typically depicted as women with long hair and white or gray clothing, and they are often seen washing clothes by the riverbank or combing their hair. In some legends, banshees are thought to be the spirits of deceased women who have returned to warn their families of impending doom, while in others, they are considered to be the guardians of certain families or clans. Next up at the number 9 spot, we have Lamia. Now this creature is from Greek mythology, and it's said to have the upper body of a woman and the lower body of a serpent. Okay, so how the legend goes is that Lamia is said to have once been a very beautiful woman who actually became a child-eating monster after being cursed by the goddess Hera. Lamia was said to lure children to her with her beauty and then devour them, just like that. And in some versions of the myth, Lamia is also said to have been a lover of Zeus and was punished by Hera for her infidelity. But in modern times though, the term Lamia has been used a lot to describe a type of vampire or other monstrous creature, often with snake-like features. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we have Aswang. Aswang is a creature from Philippine mythology, and it's said to be a shape-shifting monster. How the story goes with Aswang is that they can actually take on many forms, including that of a bat, a dog, or even a black pig. They are said to be nocturnal creatures, so they come out at night and they prey on pregnant women and young children using their long tongues to suck out the blood and the organs of their victims. Aswang are also believed to have magical powers, such as having the ability to fly or even turn invisible. The creature coming in at the number 7 spot is Jinn. Jinn, also referred to as genie, and sometimes the word is spelled with a D at the beginning, so D-J-I-N-N. These are supernatural creatures from Islamic mythology. According to Islamic mythology, Jinn are made from smokeless fire, and they have the capability of taking on many forms, including humans, animals, and even inanimate objects. Jinns are said to possess magical powers, such as having the ability to grant wishes, as well as control the elements, and even possess human beings. They are often depicted as very mischievous and cunning and very unpredictable. According to Islamic beliefs, Jinn are not necessarily evil though. They are free-willed beings that can choose to do evil or choose to do good. In at the number 6 spot, we have Wendigo. Wendigo is a creature from the mythology of the indigenous peoples of North America, particularly among the Algonquin-speaking tribes. The Wendigo is a malevolent spirit or monster that is associated with the winter, as well as associated with famine and also starvation. It is said to be an extremely tall creature, and it has glowing eyes and very sharp teeth. Wendigo are said to be able to possess humans and drive them to start craving devouring human flesh. It is also believed that they are able to mimic human voices, and they start to lure people, unsuspecting travelers even, into the forest, and that's when they pounce on them. Up next, we have the Skinwalkers. A Skinwalker is a creature from the mythology of the Navajo people of North America, and they are witches or medicine men who have gained the power to transform themselves into animals by wearing the skin of the animal. The transformation is said to be done by a very complex ritual, and then a skinwalker is able to have various supernatural abilities, such as the power to control animals as well as put curses on people. Now, the Navajo people, they still consider the skinwalker to be a very deeply sacred and spiritual figure, and discussing it in public is actually considered to be taboo among them. Supernatural creature up next is Kappa. The Kappa is a supernatural creature from Japanese folklore, and it's said to be able to inhabit bodies of water, such as rivers and ponds, so be careful when you go near any body of water. It is often depicted as a small green humanoid with webbed hands and feet, and a turtle-like shell on its back. Kappa are known for being very mischievous and sometimes very violent out of nowhere. And some legends say that they actually just go and drown humans and animals, and they steal crops, and they even kidnap children. They are also said to have a liking for cucumbers, with some stories even suggesting that they can actually be appeased by offering them vegetables, especially cucumbers. Despite their reputation for being evil though, Kappa are sometimes portrayed as helpful creatures who teach humans very valuable lessons. Now, I couldn't do this episode without mentioning the Chupacabra. These are legendary creatures that are said to inhabit parts of the Americas, particularly Latin America and southwestern United States. Now, the name specifically Chupacabra is Spanish for goat sucker. That's what it literally means. And this refers to the creature's supposed habit of attacking and draining the blood of livestock, including goats and sheep. The creature is often described as being reptilian or alien-like in appearance, with large fangs and spines running down its back. Now, despite numerous reported sightings, there is no actual concrete evidence of the existence of the Chupacabra, and many experts believe that the sightings can just be attributed to other animals or natural phenomena. Number 2 leads us to more Greek mythology, and this involves gorgons. So these are creatures that are typically depicted as female monsters with snakes for hair and the ability to turn people into stone with their gaze. Now, the most famous gorgon is Medusa from Greek mythology, who was said to have been a beautiful woman until she was cursed by the goddess Athena for defiling her temple. Gorgons, they were believed to be extremely dangerous and were often depicted as very fierce warriors who could not be killed easily. And with that fearsome reputation, that made them a very popular symbol in ancient Greek art and architecture, and images of gorgons can be found on everything from pottery to temple facades. Ending this episode off at number 1, we have Rakshasa. Rakshasas are a type of demon or evil spirit found in Hindu mythology, and they are often depicted as shape-shifting creatures that can take on the form of humans or animals, but are typically associated with wild animals such as tigers and bears. Rakshasas are said to be able to possess humans and manipulate their actions, and they're believed to prey on travelers and are associated with dark, remote places such as forests and graveyards. Rakshasas are also said to have the power to control the weather, and they can cause storms or even natural disasters. And they are, however, sometimes portrayed in a more sympathetic light in Hindu mythology, and we find stories of them having been redeemed because of their actions of devotion and service to the gods.